Using MongoDB Compass. MongoDB Compass is the GUI application for managing MongoDB databases. It allows you to analyze your data using a familiar and intuitive interface. You can use it to explore data visually and perform some of the common CRUD operations without using much code. You can use MongoDB Compass to create databases, collections, and documents. So let's head over to MongoDB Compass and perform some of these operations. When you launch MongoDB Compass for the first time, you may not see any connections here, any history in the recent here. If you do, it will show up here. The connection string is right here by default. It's connected to your localhost with the port number 27017. Okay, so just click connect, and you have to make sure your server is up and running. So here, by default, Mongo created this 4 or 3 local databases, and there's another one called test, which you don't see here. But it tells you in the left column, the Explorer window here, the tab here shows you the databases, and we can drill this down to the collection level. So we can see that the admin and config databases have no collections. The local has one, and is also shown here in the main screen. Okay, and so if you go to the help and the Compass overview, that gives you a really nice overview of each of those tabs. You just go over that, and then they might have a better explanation than I do, but we're not going to explore these in detail, so you can read about it here, and it's kind of nice. But we're going to go down to the local to the collection level here, you can see, and do some operations in the document level. But first, let's create our own databases. We'll just create one database. I'm going to call it, you can create it here or up on the left. And I'm sure you get, okay, you can create it down here on the left or on the home page, the local cluster page, and create database here. Okay, so you have to include the name of your database and the collection name. Otherwise, it won't let you do it. So if I just type in like DemoDB and hit enter, or we click create, it's going to say, oh, you have to have a DemoDB for namespace. So collection name will be synonymous to a table. Okay, so create that. We added our DB demo DB, and then we have one collection and has one index. Okay, so if you drill down to the collection level, we have no documents in here. You can add here, we can import it in, right? And so why don't we just import some data so we can use it in this demo. If you go to the desktop and the min stack data source, in the data folder, I added 2 more files. One is called the new_providers.json. This is the same as the other one here. We'll deal with that later in the next video. The mock data is a sample data set. It's a collection of just sample users, and we can use for this demo here. It has 2 it's an embedded type of documents, because one document, the child document, is embedded inside another document. So this is called the embedded document model. Okay, so let's import this into Mongo Compass, and we will use that here. So go to add data. You can add insert document here if you want. Visually, you can copy and paste it, put it here, or type in your own code. But we're going to add through import. So import, search for that file, and then just open that file and choose the JSON for type. You can just ignore this if you want. If you want to stop on the errors, you can check that. If there's any error in your code, then you have to follow the JSON syntax. If it fails, then it will not insert those data. So click import, and if all goes well, you see the 100% here, and we are good to go. So we have imported about 100 records or documents, and this screen only shows 20 per screen. I don't think you can change that value to anything more than that. Also, by default, the cursor returns only 20 records. So you have to click this arrow to go to the next record, and so on. Okay, so most of your time spent will be here in this documents and maybe the aggregations here. Okay, we'll deal with that a little bit later. So now in the filter here is where you do your queries, or similar to your select statements. Okay, if you want to add data, you see that I can click the add and do that here. I can add another document called whatever I want. If I click on it, it will just give you a simple ID, Mongo ID by default. Click insert, it's added, and now I have 101. It's at the very end. If I go over there, you'll see it, right? If I go to the last page, and you see that at the very last one is this the one here. So I added here. I can edit by just clicking the pencil here, or you can just, sometimes you can just double click on it. If it doesn't let you, yeah, double click on the edit field. And you can modify, you can add more fields if you want, add another field, maybe name, and then go here like Jake, and then, you know, update. Now I updated my field. If you want to delete, just click delete, and then just say yes, and then now it's gone. Okay, so we're back to 100. And if I reset, go back, or if I go back to the first one, let's go back, come back in again. So we're back in here. For some reason, it doesn't show the information. Yeah, I need to go back to the first page. Refresh. All right, so we just did the edit here. You can also copy this into memory. If you click this icon with the two pictures here, click that, it copies into memory. Then you can go and insert, and then, or use it elsewhere, insert document. You can paste it right in here. Control V to paste it. And there's my record here. It's kind of not so nice, but if you go back out and again come back, it's in JSON format. And because the ID is a Mongo database ID, it's a 24 hex value. And if I try to insert that, it's going to probably throw an error because the ID is unique. You cannot have ununique IDs. So if I put like a different number here, so it's unique, I just add another record, okay, to the last, I guess, to the last page there. So if you want to clone, click that, and same thing, it pre-populated for you without the ID field. And insert, and I got another one. Now I have 102. Okay. So those are for your delete, update, and edit, and insert. Now to do your read, you put it in the query. This is the find or the select statement. Okay, it's a find function in Mongo. So we have 4 options here. The filter, all of these here takes an object, or in MongoDB term, it's a document. Documents, again, always come in the form of a pair of curly braces. Every time you see that, it's a document. So here you see down in the view here, this is a document. I have a nested document at the phone number inside that I showed you earlier. Okay, all these are documents. Over here, the skip and the limit, this is meaning how many records I want to skip. If I want to skip, you know, I want to see the last 2, I have to skip 100. And now it only shows me the last 2 records, which are the last 2 I created earlier. Okay, so I can go and delete those. I don't need those, right? And so it doesn't matter. I delete, and there they are. And now they're gone. Okay, so that's what that skip means. And then I'm back to 100. The limit means how many I want to display. So if I put only shows like 10, then 1 just show me 1, the first one on the list. So very simple like that. The max time ms means the number of milliseconds you want to allow this query to run. If it's really short, then it's not gonna, it may fail because it doesn't take that much. You don't give that much time for you to make the query. So this is default to 5 seconds. So most of your work will be in the find filter here. The filter is like the where clause. Okay, so your where clause goes here in the relational database system. You see something like select. I'll just put it here. Okay, so select something, right? Everything from table where, you know, ID is 1. This is your SQL statement. So your select is, this screen gives you, is the find function. The where clause, mistype that, is this filter here, the condition. The star, or the records like the age, name, and so on, all these fields are in the project part here, document. Okay, so they are replaced this way. A sort, it'll be like order by, you know, ID, like that, right? With a sort. And then the limit is like you say, you know, select, you know, top 10 or something like that. Okay, so kind of give you a relationship between SQL statements and then the MongoDB statements. So here the filter is show me all the age of, say, 30. Okay, exactly 30. That's what it means. Using object notation. If If I click find, and it gives me 2 records. Okay, the age are here. If I want to say show all the names with the, so we say show all the names, or I'll say first name with the word Caitlin, exactly Caitlin, then it may only find 1. Okay, but I want to say, okay, give me all the name that starts with the letter capital C. So you can use, there's no like command in here. So you have to use the regular expression. And here I say start with the letter S or C. That's what it means. And ends, doesn't matter, right? This is case sensitive, so it has to match uppercase. So here I have returns 13 of them, has the letter C for the first name. If you put a lowercase c, then you're not going to get any because all the names are start with the capital letters. If you want to be case insensitive, put the I here. This is nothing with Mongo, it's just the regular expression rules. And so you have to know regular expression to use that to search substrings. Okay. All right. So so we got 13 of them. And if you want to say, okay, give me all the names that start with the letter C and whose age are only greater than 40, right? So you put and here. And means the next property. So the age is greater than 40. I cannot do like, that, right? It won't work. Again, it's object notation. So here I have to use a special operator called $GTE. Greater than equal to, less than or equal to, right? This is like JavaScript. Greater than equal to 40. Then returns all those records. There are 8 of them, or 40 or older. Okay, you can sort by age, and then just say age : 1 for ascending order, or -1 for the descending order. Only those 2 values. It doesn't take any other values. If you try to add other values, it will error out. If you see any red marks here, that means you cannot run it. It's an error. Okay, so it's going to give you that nice option there to make sure your syntax are all correct. So click find, and all my records, 8 of them, sorted in ascending order from 40, youngest to oldest. Okay. Now, if you want to search for the sub-documents here, you have to navigate down the path to find that, right? So let's just say I also want to return only those work numbers that start with 9. So I can put another one, is and clause. So you can say for sub-documents, you have to use quotes. Like these, you can put like that if it's just the word itself, if it's a high level. If it's always safe to also put, as a string, you can get the same result back. So to navigate down to the path, you have to use that quotation mark. So say phone number, I want to get all the work phone, okay, like that. And give me all the numbers that start with number 9. That's what it means, right? And then see how many there are returned. So I get only 1. Okay. If I take out the caret, that means include 9 in that number, right? So I get 5 of them. It has 9 in the number. Here. Okay, so now the project or projection here tells you the fields. What fields should return? If you put empty here, everything is returned, as you can see here. If I want to return only the first name and last name, you can put here first name and then :1 for return or 0 for exclude. Okay, include, exclude. You cannot have both in here. I'll show you in a minute. So last name and first name only. And you hit find and you see that those fields return with the exception of the ID field. This is a unique field, so you have to turn that off. You don't want that. So underscore ID is 0. Okay, so you can see that I have a combination of both 1s and 0s in here. So now I've removed the ID. Only this exception. Otherwise, you cannot say, I want the first name to be returned and the 0 for the last name. You can explicitly do that because you are contradicting yourself. Here on the bottom, you see there's a mix of inclusion, exclusion. You cannot do that. It's redundant anyway. Either you want to include it or not. If you don't include it, then just leave it out, right? So now you only got the first name and return. Okay. If you want to include everything else and exclude the first name, instead of saying I mean like last name 1, phone 1, whatever it is, do the other way around. So return everything else except for the first name. You put 0 there, you negate that, and then the first name will be excluded. All right. So that is how you would perform the select statement. Replacing and do a modification. Again, you don't have the option to do that in a command. You just basically double click and fix that yourself manually here. So you cannot do like multi edits here and using the interface. Okay, so you'll be using this here just to manage your database. For our app, we just use that to confirm that we make changes to our database and so on. We're not going to come here and do any queries in here. Okay, we do most of those in the code when we in the app. What last thing I want to show you is the aggregations here. This is for making queries as well, but this one you do in stages. So notice over here I did everything in one stage, right? One phase. Over here, is useful for if you make collections, if you make like in the relational database system, you make join statements. You're joining from one collection to another collection in a different database if you want to. You can do all that here, or you can do in the same document. So collection is fine too, but you do in phases. So you can say, okay, the first stage, I want to get a matching. Say I want to match, again, here would be like all the age that are, greater than 30. So that returns live right away. It gives you 20 records. And so from this record set, what's the next stage? So you do in phases. So this is a result set. So if you think about the join statements in relational database system, you get the first set that comes back, that in the memory. What do you do with that set now? So in this set, I want to do another match or another query. I can say I want to group something based on a certain number. So I can say just limit return only. I have 20, so just give me only 10. Okay, it gives you only 10, the first 10, and then the next stage you keep going, right? So you can say now I want to sort by the age and ascending order, right? So here is sorted in that order. Okay, so once you're done, and then you can keep adding, right? You keep going and keep going and so on. So you can say project, just say I want only, again, the first name and last name, and then maybe the ID field. Okay, if it's just those, then remove the ID as well and make that 0. And there's my result. If this is what I want, I'm done. Then I want to get this command. You can go into the export here, click the export, and here's your command here in phases. And you copy that over to your language. Python uses that. We're using node, so it's the node. This is the node for our query. And if you want to include these statements, the full statements, check those two boxes. And there you go. You just copy and paste this into your code and run it. All right, so this is for aggregation. You can save this as well. Save it so that, give it a name, say first and last name only, right? Save that. Now it's saved, as you can see here. And then next time if you come back, you can just go to that and then grab it from here. I think it's in here somewhere. All right, so that is you use Mongo for that purpose. Again, you cannot delete all the records here easily. If you want to delete all of them, then you have to manually click every one of them, or you can just go to the demo here and click here and drop that collection to remove everything. Okay, so in the next video, we'll explore the Mongo shell interface to interact with the MongoDB database.